alarm clock Britannians. Or should there be Britons? Weren't they a Celtic tribe? No, maybe it was a football team. If Nick Clegg is appealing to Alarm Clock Britain, then they should have gone to Specsavers. But Nick Clegg also said that he wants to stand up for Alarm Clock Britain. Ed Miliband's squeezed middle. Well, we here at The Graduate Show, not to be outdone, we want to appeal to those of you who've thrown away your alarm clocks. People of the benefits lifestyle. People who get up listlessly whenever they please. Lie in with the curtains closed while boring, hard-working families go to work and pay taxes. Perhaps your day just consists of sitting around racked with guilt over your decadent decision to buy eggs, or maybe desperately pathetic phone calls to the landlord to explain why your rent will be another week overdue. Maybe you're unemployed, perhaps forced into a premature pensionless retirement, and maybe you're a graduate. Either way, sit back, let the good times roll. This is Benefits Britain. This, ladies and gentlemen, is The Graduate Show. Johann Sebastian Bach was born on the 21st of March in the year 1685. His innovative and compelling musical style may, in fact, prove to be even more complex than was originally thought. It has relatively recently been discovered that cats find the early work of Bach almost irresistible. This discovery has not gone unnoticed. It has been used for the past few years by a special branch of the Cotswolds Fire Constabulary, who recently acquired a new fire engine with a detachable chamber orchestra. In the unfortunate incident of a cat becoming stuck in the highest branches of a tree, the ensemble can be deployed to lure the feline from the shrubbery. However, the brains behind the notion, Chief Officer Philip Fredrickson, was forced to resign this week after an embarrassing incident unveiled his inadequate knowledge of horticulture. And as we all know, all horticulturalists are proud of their obsession of the works of the mighty Bach, merrily humming away to the latest popular fugue or aria. The call was given that Miss Jane Hamilton's Moggy had inadvertently become lodged in a particularly precarious larch. However, the Fire Constabulary dispatched its orchestra beneath the boughs of a Scotch pine, an embarrassing but all too common mistake. The whole village stood around pointing, laughing at Mr. Fredrickson and his Cotswold ensemble, chanting, "Oi you lot, you're barking up the wrong tree." Now, on a more serious note, we turn our attentions to the catastrophic tragedy in Japan. The harrowing natural disaster has given way to the arguably more terrifying nuclear holocaust, producing a series of scenes so awful our newspaper headlines can barely keep up. In the face of this earth-shattering catastrophe, one man stood in the way. One man fought against the apocalypse and made it worse. This week's chief idiot in charge of stuff that happens overseas, William Hague. Hague, a man who unfortunately manages to seamlessly blend the distasteful arts of being both bold and ginger. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Hague the leader of the Conservative Party at some time during the turn of the century? Didn't he fail miserably and crawl defeated under some unassuming rock in Yorkshire? I thought we got rid of this man. How is he now the Foreign Secretary in this powerful and calamity-causing position? Just in case you happen to be ill-informed and you just skipped forward a bit and are wondering where this babble of hatred is coming from, let me fill you in. In the wake of the Japanese disaster, a British government-based rescue team flew out, uninvited, and this had to be covered up by pretending to be American diplomats. All highly embarrassing. Whilst this was going on, the British non-government-based, awesome-sounding International Rescue, a team of highly specially trained volunteers, familiar to the Japanese after they responded to the Kobe earthquake disaster in Japan in 1995, got the call to fly out and assist the Japanese rescue teams. Now, technically, they're the International Rescue Corps, but for future Thunderbird references, let's keep calling them International Rescue. Now, partly due to the British uninvited rescue teams, and partly for other political reasons, between International Rescue leaving Tracy Islands and landing in Japan, the Japanese government issued a declaration that required all rescue teams to prove that they are charity aid organisations, so that they would be entitled to ration supplies such as petrol. Simple enough. Just a quick trip over to the British Embassy, a telephone call home, and International Rescue, now over 30 experienced years old, would be sorted. It's not the most exciting part of the Thunderbirds episode, but I assume that they too must have the correct paperwork. That's assumably what Thunderbird 5 spends most of its time doing. However, It was not so simple for the ever-stubborn British Foreign Affairs, who refused the paper. Mr. Hague blamed the IRC, saying that they were unprepared and were using government officials, such as himself, as scapegoats, and it was too easy to blame red tape for their own ineffectiveness. This, of course, caused great upset amongst many members of International Rescue, who described Mr. Hague as being decidedly un-FAB. They didn't really. They were much too upset, having flown halfway around the world to assist in one of the largest natural disasters of the past decade, only to be turned home by their own government, forcing them to leave aid, food, medicine, technical equipment, where no doubt it will be used, but without the extra hands who are specifically trained to use it. But it's funny, because their name sounds like a puppet show. Hague's comments ring decidedly hypocritical, for as you may well remember, he was the chief behind the blundering SAS soldiers in Libya. And, again, uninvited, but at a time before Britain had technically reached its decision to intervene. The operation was so underprepared that half of the crack team landed without their weapons, the other half in pyjamas. 3 of the men were from the cooking corps, 2 turned out to be Boy Scouts, and the guy with the bewildered look at the front is in fact a window cleaner from Scunthorpe, with no recollection of how he ended up in Libya, other than it started on a Saturday night drinking too much Smirnoff Ice. So there, William Hague, Mr. Organised. And now, to tell us more about the current crisis in Libya, we have a special report from a man at the very frontier of civilization, the cultural wilds of East Yorkshire, somewhere just outside Hull. Now, this is all getting very complicated. There's a lot of mixed emotions: good, bad, right, wrong, necessity, justifiability. To clarify some of these confusing matters, I'll explain. I'll draw you a diagram. In the centre we have Mr. Gaddafi, and under him, for the time being at least, are his people, represented here by these suspiciously Western-looking teenagers. Now, we in England, Thatcher, David Cameron, these are England, we don't like Gaddafi, shown here by this green arrow. We do like the USA, Charlie Sheen. It's just an example of American. See this pink arrow? They, and by that I mean we, all don't like Gaddafi, and by we I mean the USA and England, like the Libyan people, now that they don't like Gaddafi. However, Al-Qaeda, which in itself is a complex network of different people from different creeds and races, linked through a common ethos of radical Sunni Muslim movements calling for global jihad, like the Libyan people, and therefore are on the side of us, and by that I mean the USA and England, but us, and by that I mean we, really don't like Al-Qaeda. So that's it. As simple as that. Here we have war. War is bad. War is bad. The report continues. In an attempt to quash any international intervention, de facto Libyan leader and world's first jacket potato human hybrid, Colonel Gaddafi, has ordered a ceasefire against his own people, essentially stopping the need for UN action. But just as any abusive husband will tell you, if you don't want the neighbours to interfere, you have to punch quieter. Videos have already surfaced on YouTube of Gaddafi using airstrikes against his own people, leaving British intervention imminent. As you can see, this report, which was sent to us on Friday, is already outdated. Since then, Britain has begun airstrikes against Gaddafi's troops, or at least they've blown up bits of Libya. And this isn't rolling news, and since filming this I've no doubt that the world will have descended into anarchy and self-destruction. So stop watching this, put on the news, kiss your loved ones goodbye, and hide under the tables. Good night! Oh, whoa, whoa, what a lovely war! Oh,